You thought it was over.
Simple Theory is back at it again with some more terrible takes. He's truly the gift that keeps on giving.
Disney executive reveals why The Acolyte was canceled after just one season. You're not going to believe this, and it's sweet justice for all of us who went under the berating attack from not just Amandla Stenberg and Leslie Headland and all of her cronies, but also the insane, intolerant fans who did not let any single one of us have a goddamn opinion, and me being the poster boy of that.
The poster boy for the hate. The poster boy. He seriously needs to get over himself. He was mentioned in that cancel campaign, that manifesto that the Shills released, but he wasn't the main target of that. I seriously doubt he was the one getting the majority of the criticism or hatred or whatever he wants to call it for his coverage of the show. He's just that desperate to look like a victim.
And of course, on a debut, anything is going to be great if it's Star Wars. If you put Star Wars on the title, you could peel a freaking egg, and people are going to watch the first episode until they realize this is just someone peeling an egg. It's not actually Star Wars.
That's not even true. Most people are pretty indifferent towards Star Wars. If they hear something's good, they might check it out. And if they hear it's bad, they probably won't waste their time with it. Star Wars is not as relevant as Star Wars Theory thinks it is, which isn't really anyone's fault other than Disney's. They're the ones who ruined the brand.
In other words, they saw that the season 2, no matter how cheap they would make it, even if they were to make it as cheap as the Kenobi show, it still wouldn't bring in the numbers and the views.
He won't let go of this narrative that Kenobi was a cheap show. $90 million is plenty of money for a show with only 6 episodes. And I really need Theory to hire a new editor because whoever's doing these videos, they're doing a terrible job. These cutaways don't really add anything. They're pretty distracting and they're a little cringe.
You know, there are a lot of people at Disney and Lucasfilm who aren't crazy shills, crazy woke shills that are there just creating their own agendas and putting their own check marks. There are people there that actually really love George Lucas Star Wars. However, they're not the ones in power, unfortunately. They're just working there. And while they may have a reputable position, they're really not the ones that are making all of the executive decisions like Bob Iger or this gentleman or Kathleen Kennedy or whoever might be there.
Everyone working at Disney is a Disney shill. They're literally employed by Disney. And it's interesting that he mentions Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy when I doubt they're the ones making all the decisions at Lucasfilm when it comes to the kinds of stories that they're making. There's someone else, I think, responsible for that, and he didn't mention his name.
Upon the series cancellation, Acolyte lead Amandla Stenberg posted a 8.5-minute video to her Instagram story saying she was unsurprised Disney didn't renew following the aggressive online backlash surrounding the show's female-driven story and queer undertones. Yeah, it's really all about that. The reason we didn't like it is because, you know, the female-driven story and queer undertones, just like Ahsoka, for example, which is a female-driven story. And, I mean, as for the queer undertones, I don't give a shit about that. I don't think anybody cares about that. Does it have a place in Star Wars? No. No sexual identity whatsoever has a place in Star Wars. If you're going to make that the centerfold of your characters, please look elsewhere, as writing a story actually requires you to be creative and talented and know how to create a story progression with characters and an overall dynamic. Especially when you're doing Star Wars, you need to really understand the whole story in general.
You know, being straight is a sexual identity, it's a sexual orientation, and Anakin is straight, and his love for Padme is a driving force for his entire character arc. And people do need to be talented and creative to write a good story. But those are two things you are not, so why don't you keep your mouth shut? And you definitely don't understand the characters. You said if Anakin was gay, it wouldn't change his character at all. You said if Vader was taking it up the arse from Lobot, it wouldn't change his character. You don't know anything about these characters or the story. You're a fake fan.
Now, if I seem passionate about this and emotional, it is because I am. And the amount of attacks that I received doing this breakdown and live streaming and all of and going through the absolute shock of this shit actually coming out.
Bro wants to be a victim so bad. Oh, the amount of attacks I got. Shut up.
Now, they could have gone ahead and made this, a $50 million production, which would have been just $40 million less than the Kenobi show. Think about that. Just $40 million less than what the 90-something million dollar Kenobi show was. And this still isn't worth it to them. Think about that.
I'm sure he thinks he's making a good point here, but he just sounds like a dickhead.
It's not a huge shock for me, Stenberg said. Ever since the series was unveiled in 2020, she added, we started experiencing a rampage of, I would say, hyper-conservative bigotry. She's already creating that divide. And we're going to go right back into this again because I don't feel like it needs... There is no, this is beating a dead horse. This needs to be just absolutely grounded into fine dust.
You are beating a dead horse. You're covering this when this is something everyone already knew. The show got cancelled because no one watched it and it was too expensive. We already knew that. You are beating a dead horse. You're grifting off of the Acolyte hate to get views.
And there's a shift coming in the world and in Hollywood, and we need to understand this and we need to move with it because for too long, people have been trying to silence us under this low IQ guise of, oh, if you don't like it, then you're racist and sexist and homophobic and this and that. When in reality, I would say 99%, and I'm not eliminating the fact that those disgusting people live out there and they are real, sure. But 99% of the people who do not like a certain art form, like movies or music or whatever, it's plainly because they do not vibe with the material. And in Star Wars' case, if you don't feel like a project is really akin to what George created and on that same plane, then it is simply because it's a poorly written show.
There's a few very interesting things he said there. First of all, Simple Theory is not in a position to call anyone low IQ. The majority of Disney Star Wars, especially the majority of Disney projects that Theory himself would say is good, do not feel like something George Lucas would make. However, a lot of the expanded universe does feel akin to something George would make, mainly because he was involved with a lot of it. But Theory doesn't consider that real Star Wars. He considers Disney Star Wars real Star Wars because he's a fake fan. And I agree, The Acolyte was a poorly written show, but so was Ahsoka. So was Tales of the Jedi. So was everything Dave Filoni's ever made. But there's a lot of Disney slop that you would lift up and put on the same level as real Star Wars because you're a fake fan and you wouldn't be able to recognize a well-written script even if I slapped you over your bald head with one.
Do you think all liberals love The Acolyte? No. This is a political marketing ploy to brainwash people who are weak-minded to think it's us versus them. No, it is one. We are one. It is Star Wars fans. Star Wars fans just want good Star Wars. Stop turning Star Wars into a goddamn political bullshit fight, okay? Us versus a massive big entity corporation, whatever it might be. The Rebels versus the Empire. And so we, at the end of the day, just want good Star Wars. We want to feel that magic. We want to feel the Force from a galaxy far, far away. We don't need this garbage shit to be written and thrown in our face and then say, if you don't like it, then you must be racist. Piss off with that.
First of all, I'd say the majority of liberals did love The Acolyte. And secondly, you're not in a position to call anyone weak-minded because you're a simple-minded fool. And Star Wars fans are not one group. And to make things simple, let's just say there are 3 different kinds of fans. This should be simple enough for even Star Wars Theory to understand. There are the Disney fans, then there are what I would consider the real fans who consider the expanded universe the real canon, and then there's the fence riders, who are secretly Disney fans just with extra steps. Star Wars Theory would fall into the fence rider category of the fandom. He's gonna yap about how Disney destroyed Star Wars and they ruined everything, they broke the canon, but he's here saying we just want good stories. He's totally fine with them still telling stories in the Disney canon. That's the canon to him. He is a Disney fan. And a big entity corporation, he's corporate Theory. He's got all these different businesses, all these different people that are doing the work for him. You're not one of us, dude. You're one of them.
Disney's latest series from a galaxy far, far away, Skeleton Crew, has already seen growth, according to Bergman. Think about this, guys. Here you go. Here's another bit of information I didn't even know we would get. Skeleton Crew is doing better. They're seeing growth compared to The Acolyte. Think about it. A show with 0 lightsabers, no Jedi, no Force, nothing. No Yoda, no Plagueis, nothing. Is already seeing growth compared to the shit stain that was The Acolyte.
And look, what he just said is not true. Either he totally misunderstood what he just read, or he lied to everyone watching his video. And I wouldn't be surprised if he totally misinterpreted that because he is pretty stupid.
And I mean, fans are vindictive at this point. That you're getting the Solo, if you're getting the Last Jedi effect. What happened with Solo? Solo bombed not because it was particularly horrible. It bombed because of the Last Jedi and people were scorned. And so the same would happen with Skeleton Crew. However, from the Acolyte, people are giving it a chance. They're like, you know what? It's a kid's show. It's not really a big deal. Whatever. No harm done. At least not yet.
Talking like a Disney shill saying fans are vindictive? No. It's a regular thing for people to do, to not pay to see a movie if the previous film in the series wasn't something they thought was good. And what is he talking about? Oh, Skeleton Crew is so good that even the hate people gave to the Acolyte didn't translate to the show. No, dude. No one cares about Star Wars anymore. That's why no one's hating on Skeleton Crew. Because no one cares.
Who is hopeful the Jude Law vehicle will fare better, having received excellent reviews since its December 2 premiere. And look at that. After the first episode, it's already doing better. It hasn't tanked like the Acolyte. The Acolyte had the first episode and tanked lower and lower and lower. Finally, to the end, the season finale. We can call it that because it was the last and final season. The first, last, and final. It was the lowest rated show.
It's not true.
The lowest viewers.
That's impossible.
Of any Star Wars Disney Plus show. Bottom of the barrel. There's a reason for that.
So the drop in viewership is because the Acolyte was bad. Ahsoka had a very similar drop in viewership, but he's not going to say that show is bad, is he?
And then we're looking at a number of additional series that are in development. Oh, interesting. We'll see what we decide to do. As I said earlier, they have to be great. You're damn right they have to be great. And it's really not that hard. And if you want any advice on where to take it, you know my email, you know my contact. I'm sure you guys can find anything you like. You're Disney, you got the most power in the world. I'd be happy to lend my services and give you guys a bit of a better outlook on what George Lucas would have wanted, because it seems like a lot of you Disney guys are straying far away from that.
Jesus Christ. Get the fuck over yourself, you bitch. You think you have a good outlook on what George would have wanted in Star Wars? You're a fucking idiot. You have not even read the New Jedi Order. You have not read the majority of the expanded universe. That is real Star Wars. That is George Lucas Star Wars. It isn't to you because you're a fucking fake fan.
And I don't know if you're controlling Dave Filoni and telling him what to do or whatnot, but like it seems like some of his projects are kind of straying a little too far from the path of what George might have wanted. You know, Ahsoka started out really good, and then I don't know what, something went weird there.
He just can't accept that Dave Filoni is the one making all these decisions. It's not Kathleen Kennedy. It's the executive creative director, which is Dave Filoni. He's the one controlling all of this shit. All the things that Kathleen Kennedy wants in Star Wars, Dave also wants those things. So she leaves it all to him.
Obi-Wan Kenobi show? You had Stuart Beattie. I talked to Stuart. I talked to him on air and off air. I know a lot about that trilogy. What were you guys thinking to not have him work on that? And to then hire Joby Harold and Deborah Chow with the shaky cam. I mean, why?
They literally use his scripts for the show. And Dave Filoni worked on those scripts. He had a lot of input. This is public knowledge. Dave Filoni is the one making a lot of these decisions, but you're never going to put the blame rightfully on him. And I honestly think a lot of this is because he's just misinformed and he doesn't know what he's talking about.
And it just goes to show at the end of the day, it's not hard to create good Star Wars because they've done it before. Disney has done it before. They did Rogue One, which was fine. They did Mando 1 and 2, which is great. Amazing. Mando 1 and 2 was really, really fun. I really liked it. The sequel trilogy, I mean, complete and utter shit. Obi-Wan, the only good thing about Obi-Wan was the fact that Obi-Wan and Anakin were in it. That was it. And Vader. You put Vader in anything, I mean, for a fan film of Vader is going to be great.
Guys, a fan film of Vader is going to be great. He's the fuck off. And of course he loves the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian because nostalgia bait works on him. He's so easily tricked and manipulated. And what he says about the sequel trilogy, like, come on dude, we all know the truth.
This was really an exceptional ending. And I really enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed the film. I would even go as far as saying, I don't see episode 8 as being in the canon timeline. I see 7 and 9. And it was a beautiful ending to the sequel trilogy. And, so far as doing the entire saga, sure, it wrapped it nicely in the end. And it left me with a good feeling. I'm happy. I really loved it. And I shouldn't be made to feel like I can't say that I loved it.
Simple theory. Not a very smart bloke. And not a real Star Wars fan. He's basically a Disney shill. I feel kind of bad for his fans, but at the same time, they probably agree with his dumb takes because they're just as dumb as he is. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I will see you guys later.